This is Look West, a podcast from California's Assembly Democrats.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for clicking on Look West. I'm Don Andrews. With me is Trinidad Santos. Hi, Trinidad.
Hi, Don.
So, like people all over the planet, we're talking about the war in Ukraine on this episode. Over the last several weeks, we've learned that California has a very deep connection with the Ukraine. For instance, the California National Guard has been doing joint exercises with the Ukrainian Armed Forces for nearly 30 years. A couple of weeks ago, in the State of the State address, Lieutenant Governor Elena Kounalakis explained that she got a chance to meet Ukrainian President Zelensky when he was in California just a couple of years ago. And we also learned that the Sacramento region has the largest concentration of Ukrainians in the United States.
Right, Don. And a lot of them showed up recently at a rally here at the state capitol. Besides signs, Ukrainian flags, and speeches, there were a lot of songs during the rally. One of the performers was Karina Kulbina. That's who you hear singing in the background now. The song is called God, I Pray for Ukraine. Among the people in the crowd that day was the founder of Ukrainian-American House. His name is Vlad Skots. From his home in Sacramento, he was able to talk with us about his family back in Ukraine, among them his parents and his 5 brothers. He told us what he thinks of the state legislature's actions to support Ukraine and how we can all help the people suffering from the war. We'll hear from him shortly.
Well, but first, we're going to hear from Assemblymember Steve Bennett. He told us that Assembly Democrats are standing in solidarity with the Ukrainian people, and they're doing so by, for instance, proposing legislation to divest the California pension funds, 2 of the world's largest investment funds, from all Russian companies. And they also passed a resolution condemning Russia's invasion. Mr. Bennett, thank you very much for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Can we start with the resolution? You explain a little bit about what it is, what it does, and what it means.
Well, the resolution, as I was just watching the events unfold like everybody else has been doing on a daily basis, it just felt like at a minimum, the state of California, the representatives of the 40 million people in California, we ought to add our voice to the voices in the rest of the world condemning the atrocities that are going on in Ukraine. And so the resolution simply does that. It identifies Putin, not the Russian people, Putin as the instigator of this, and the war machine that he has absolute control over, and how inappropriate it is, but also how inhumane it is for the people of Ukraine. The other thing that the resolution tries to call out is the fact that this is going back to the days before World War II, where it was sort of agreed that the mighty, if you had the strength, you were allowed to take over the weak, that the strong could take over the weak. And if that was happening around the world before World War II. We for 77 years, at least, the world has tried to stay committed to not letting that be the standard. And right now we're seeing that standard being reasserted. And we should take a strong stand to keep that from happening, because this is the closest parallel to the events that led up to World War II that we've had in the last 77 years. And so for all those reasons, we did the resolution, but those were all things that we called out in the resolution also.
Raising our voices collectively to make sure we condemn the war in Ukraine, as the state legislature has done, is, as you say, a worthwhile thing to add our voices to. Does it matter? Does it have an impact?
I think we have to recognize it is a small step, but it's not an insignificant step. So relative to the other things that have to happen, this doesn't rank up there in terms of relative rank high. But again, it's not insignificant, and it's not insignificant because of the morale of the people in Ukraine. Is improved when they know people are with them, and the fact that they trained over here, that their president came here to California, for them to know that their friends in California and just that the population of California, the representatives of the population in California were sending a message to them, has to be helpful. But the other thing I would offer to you is they have been helpful to us. They are inspiring us. They are motivating us. They are reminding us of the importance of democracies standing together against tyranny, against the strong taking over the weak, against the things that started World War II in the first place. And so the resolutions also help send the message that they have inspired us to do the resolution, but also to try to stand together with the other democracies and maintain world peace by maintaining the ethics and values and standards that we've lived under for the last 77 years, or at least attempted to live under.
Very well put. Thank you, Assemblymember. So let's talk a little bit about Russian divestment. So a lot of nations, including the US, have passed different legislation regarding Russian divestments. Can you tell us a little bit about what is happening here in California and why is it important?
We have a bill that's coming from the Senate calling for divestiture. We have large pension funds, hundreds of billions of dollars in our pension funds. And we could, by joining with the rest of the world, have some impact on the Russian economy and therefore on Russia's ability to wage war. You're already seeing in Ukraine that the Russians have old equipment, they have poor equipment, and poor training of their soldiers. So their war machine has been affected by the sanctions that were imposed after the 2014 invasion of Crimea, for example. In general, I think many of us have not been very supportive of a product by product disinvestment program. You know, you can take this consumer good or that consumer good and say, hey, that's not healthy for people. But this is the one time when I think divestiture does make sense. There is a price to pay with divestiture, and that we may not have as good of return on our investment dollars as we may have had in a different situation. But that is a small price for us to contribute to avoiding the reinstatement of the old conditions that led to World War II.
You mentioned that there will be a price to pay for the Russian divestment. Maybe some people might be concerned what happens to them on the individual level. So if CalPERS and CalSTRS have to sell Russian assets at a loss, will there be any change on the individual level to a person's CalPERS retirement plan, for example?
Sure. Theoretically, there could be. I don't think it would be a significant change, but theoretically, there could be. Just like there are higher gas prices because of what we're doing with Russian oil, and we're seeing that. I think we have to ask ourselves: it can't be that the Ukrainians are the only ones that pay a price. And they're paying a heavy price with their lives, with the disruption of their families, with the families being torn apart, with their whole country their infrastructure being destroyed. So if the price we have to pay to support them is, some pain of higher gas prices and potentially a small, I think probably not significant change in the investment returns and therefore the ability to fund our pensions, we should be ready to pay some price if we want to be the world leaders in terms of maintaining the peace that we've had essentially for the last 77 years. So this is not going to be pain-free, and we have to recognize that.
In regards to gas price, you mentioned, of course, we have a price to pay. There are rising gas costs. Can you tell us a little bit about what legislation is going on in California right now in regards to gas prices?
Well, I know that the governor is looking at this program with our legislative leaders, and I certainly don't want to get in front of them in terms of what may come out of that. But there is a recognition that we want to try to do everything we can here in the state of California to minimize the impacts the disruptions that are coming with the supply chain in terms of oil and therefore the price of gasoline. But at the same time, we're going to try to minimize those. I don't want anybody to think that we will get the impacts down to zero. There will be, as I said before, a price that we will have to pay if we want to be supportive of a peaceful world order. Peace is something you earn in the world. It's not something that is, a God-given right. You have to work at it, or else the strong will come and take over the weak, and you'll constantly be in these battles as people vie for power based just on their military strength.
The Ukrainian population in Northern California is the largest outside of Ukraine. And I wonder, if we close things out here, if you have a message to the people here in the United States of Ukrainian descent, and for that matter, for all of the Ukrainians around the world.
Well, a message for the Ukrainians in California and in the United States overall is to help continue to inspire the rest of us. You have a bigger megaphone right now. People are going to listen to you more and keep the pressure on. I think we can do more as a government. We should do more in terms of the appropriate military equipment to give. So to the Ukrainian people, help inspire our leaders at the national level in particular to do more to help the Ukrainians and to keep all of us motivated. It's been good for Americans to come together. Almost everybody in America seems to be strongly supportive of this effort and the efforts of the Ukrainians. And that's good for us. We need to bond on more things, and the Ukrainian people here can help us make that bond.
Our thanks to Assemblymember Bennett for being part of this episode of Look West.
Vlad Skots' 5 brothers and his parents still live in Ukraine. As the chair of Ukrainian-American House, Skots is helping Ukrainians and supporters find ways to get medical supplies and other needed relief to the war zone. He talked with us via Zoom.
Thank you so much for being able to join us for making time for Look West. Why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about why you're here?
Thank you so much for having me. So I grew up in a small village in Ukraine, in western part. I immigrated to United States almost 21 years ago. I arrived here, I remember, without parents. I was almost 22, without knowing English, without money. And I started my life here completely from the scratch. I remember my first job was a janitor at the restaurant, night shift. And after that, I worked in construction, delivery company, and later I started my own business. And after I realized that I'm successful, and so I greatly appreciate for all opportunities given me in this country, because I have something to compare, perspective here in the United States and in different countries. And I'm grateful for everything. And I realized that United States, it's not perfect, but it's a great country. There's no any other country like here to found business, to develop something. And that's how we start with our Ukrainian-American House, to promote business bilateral relationship between businesses here in Sacramento, California, and Ukraine.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on in Ukraine? You've mentioned that your parents and your brothers are still in Ukraine. What are they telling you about the situation in Ukraine?
Yeah, I'm very well connected with the Ukraine. My parents there, my other 5 brothers in Ukraine, 2 of them in Kyiv. Me personally, I'm very often in Ukraine. It used to be like 3-5 times a year, because I have office in Kyiv, in Odessa, Lviv. So I'm very well connected with the Ukraine. And everything what happened there, it's very touchable for me, and I assume for everybody. And I stay in touch with Ukraine basically 24/7. I stay in touch with parents, with my brothers, and especially who's in Kyiv. with multiple friends in Kiev, from Odessa. With some people, connection lost, but I'm glad I stay in touch closely with my family. As of today, everybody alive. We don't know what will be tomorrow. It's very devastating and scary what is happening there. Because to have better understanding, let's say Kiev. Kiev, it's a very big city. And to compare Kiev, we can compare like San Francisco, New York, some other big cities, and it's very innovative city. There's a lot of international companies, very popular English language, and life was like us here in the United States. Everybody was trying to do something, develop. Recently, we partnering with the American University in Kiev. So it's very busy. It's very like innovative city. And just imagine at one morning at 4 a.m. everything flips off, and people totally lost. They don't know where they start. Because instead of take kids to the school, instead of develop business, people started to realize and see on the road map where is closest bomb shelter. They start to realize how not to die, where to run. People get scary, people get confused, and it's very devastating what's happening there in Kiev and in other cities, in Kharkiv, Mariupol. It's hard to believe until today even. It's at one point you want to wake up and realize it was some terrible dream, but unfortunately it happening here in this civilized world.
Mhm. It's something that no one should ever have to go through. And it's horrible that the people of Ukraine, like you said, that they're having to realize where's the nearest bomb shelter? How do I not die? That's something that no one should ever have to realize.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you would ask why people have this issue, why so many people dying today, innocent people, and so there's a simple answer: because Ukraine wanna be free, because people of Ukraine wanna be independent. At one point, they decided we doesn't want to live under Soviet Union propaganda, Russian. We want to turn around, go towards education. We don't like this style of life. We want our kids to live in more educated world. And some enemy, which is Putin, Russian president, he decided because of his geopolitical ambitions, oh, people, if you want to be free, if you want to be independent, I just destroy you. I just destroy your country, and it's happening, and it's very scary because we are dealing with one nuclear weapon country. If nobody stop Putin over there in Ukraine, he'll go farther to other countries. He might bring damage to United States. So that's why this issue, it's not only local issue, local problem for the Ukraine, but for whole world. The countries, they have to develop some sort of policy, because as we see Putin at the power over the 20 years. So there's no democracy, there is no election system. And it's like former KGB agent, he just got at the power over there in Russia. And whole Russian media, whole Russian propaganda, they brainwash Russian people that whole world against us. Only we are right on this earth. There's Europe Union, they just crazy people. United States, our number one enemy. And even today, what happening in Ukraine, good majority of Russian people, they just sitting quietly because they bought this propaganda was in Russia.
Mhm. Yes. Um, so the California Assembly passed a resolution um, condemning the attack by Russia on Ukraine and standing with Ukraine. What do you think about this? What do you think are the implications of this? Why is this resolution important?
I mean, I think it's important because in solidarity in Ukraine, any position, it's from California, from any business, it's just right. It's first, it's support for the Ukraine, and which is support for Ukraine, which is support for the international law, for the democracy. And also it's other lesson to other people who violate this international law, democracy, because if Russia violate this, they should pay price. And if Russia violate all this, they do not deserve privilege of business with the United States, with the United government. And I'm totally for it, I support it. And because even those Russian people who keep silent today with all those crime what Putin doing, they're accomplice of this. So we are greatly appreciated the United States and the states differently, and especially in California, they support the solidarity in Ukraine, and they're helping to solve this issue.
Yeah, I think something that's also important that California, as well as other countries around the world that are doing to show solidarity, is the divestment of Russian assets. What do you think about that?
I think that's exactly right way. It's definitely will work on the long term. All those like sanctions, other people will realize, and of course, those people will pay very big price. So sanctions definitely it's right move and right way. Unfortunately, it's not enough on the short term to invade to prevent invasion. This Russian invasion, like full war going on in Ukraine today, tomorrow. So those sanctions won't help in short period how to stop Russian invasion, but definitely it's right move with support. And here in California, particularly in Sacramento, we have the biggest Ukraine diaspora in the United States. So we are grateful. We thank you to our legislators for their support, and we're totally for it.
Something else that happened is that the Department of Homeland Security announced that the Ukraine will be designated for temporary protected status for 18 months. Do you want to explain to us what is TPS and what does it mean for Ukrainians?
Yeah, it's very big help for those people who visit United States for some reason. I don't know, it was maybe just visit relatives, something else, but they stuck here. So this chance, they will give them opportunity to stay here for next 18 months, if I'm not mistaken. So they can send kids to the school, they can work, they can survive, because if not this extension, they just basically stuck. There's no place to go.
Yes, I hope that this is something that will be helpful to a lot of Ukrainian families. Okay, and you are the chair of the Ukrainian-American House. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your organization? How are you helping Ukrainians right now?
Main purpose was to be focusing on the business, education. We were not prepared to deal with those humanitarian and war stuff. And first few days we just confused, we were lost, we just stuck what to do, how to help. And probably as a mostly people still under shock that because nobody expected full invasion. I saw that Putin crazy, he lost his mind, and I expect there's going to be some invasion, but I had hope we'll be on the somewhere on the east part of Ukraine, but the full invasion, I would never predict that. So we just united whole Ukrainian-American businesses here in California, in Sacramento, and in the United States. We reach out our friends in Ukraine. First step, we basically donate them, because whole logistic industry, it's not working as this moment. And the biggest and more efficient way, we just donate money and they can purchase medical medicine stuff over there from the Poland or other countries around. But I see there's going to be problems soon. Probably if this conflict delay for next few weeks, they will be out of supply there. So on our end, we are working to establish some accounts, so we'll be able to send some medical supplies there. Also on local level, we are working with our legislators, state and federal, to see if there's some additional sanctions can impose on Russia. And we also talking to different legislators, asking to generate some asylum program for the Ukrainians. Because here in Sacramento, we have a very big Ukrainian diaspora. And also many Ukrainians, people stuck outside of Ukraine, in Poland, other countries. And we are getting multiple requests from Ukrainians from Sacramento. They are willing to share houses to give them temporarily space to live. So it will be a very big help for if we get these options to take those people to live here temporarily, or there's like close relatives to family reunion, so even maybe permanent asylum here. I really hope in next few weeks it will be possible. We send this request to Senator Office Alex Padilla and some other local offices here, patiently waiting for the response.
We've talked a lot about how different legislations have provided help, how your organization has provided help. Do you want to tell our viewers how they, as average Californians, can help support Ukrainians during this time?
I'm very grateful to us all California-American people, because me personally, our government is awesome, but I believe like civilians, people, they more touchable, they care more, because even moments like our neighbor, old gentleman, 80+ years, he knocked at the door and we opened, he says, here's $50, can you pass to your father there in Ukraine? And me personally, I'm getting hundreds emails, calls from colleagues, everybody who knows me, they just trying to support and offer other support, what they can do. So I'm very grateful. As of today, the fastest way, if you have some charity, donate money, they can purchase some supplies there. And if you can reach out to your legislator and ask them to provide this asylum program for the Ukrainian people who stuck outside of Ukraine or trying to escape from war zone over there from Ukraine. It will be the biggest help. And also we register petition to start criminal investigation against Putin and his entire circle. If you can support this petition, you can find online. We would appreciate and grateful for that.
Thanks to Vlad Skots from Ukrainian-American House.
And thanks to Assemblymember Bennett for being on the episode as well. And of course, thanks to you, the Look West listeners. We appreciate you. I'm Don Andrews with Trinidad Santos, and you've been listening to Look West.
This is Look West, a podcast from California's Assembly Democrats.